Come on.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Controversy Lab.
Well, controversy is key.
I am your host, Nikhil House.
I got something in my fucking eye. I'm RTJ. My bad. I'm RTJ, the cool one. The guy
All
with
right,
all
guys,
bags.
welcome back to another episode of Controversy Lab, where controversy is key, as my co-host has already stated. So today we're going to be talking about the George Floyd case, the verdict that we got. Mr. Chauvin.
We ain't got to pronounce his name right. The bitch nigga who getting locked up.
Right.
Let's
that
just
guy.
leave it at that.
That guy. So, so there's a couple things we want to talk about this episode. We're going to keep it short, concise, and to the point because there's really not much to really talk about. We don't want to drag the topic out.
Nigga, we got it. We finally got one.
Yeah, we got it.
You know what? I just thought about it. We got two. We got the white girl, Amber Geiger.
Did they indict her?
Yeah, she's in prison right now.
When did they indict her?
Remember they got her last year. She's serving 10 years. They got the one shot that got
Oh, yeah. She went into his apartment.
Yeah. So she's
shot
but
him. Yeah.
Here's the fun thing, guys. I follow these, but saying I should do. She's up. Her court case for appeal is happening this month on the 27th.
That's interesting.
Yeah. For all you guys that just follow the moment, you have to keep following these things to see what's happening. And like I said, her appeal case is up on the 27th. She's going to be fighting for appeal. However, Chauvin, when they said guilty on all verdicts, I called you.
Yeah.
That nigga, his face was like, oh my God, I can't believe they did this.
I really couldn't tell. I was looking. To me, it looked like, he was scrunch face, but I didn't really notice him like exuding a lot of emotion though.
I don't think he understood.
And that's maybe it didn't hit him. Maybe it didn't hit him until he went back to his cell, and maybe he broke down in his cell. But from what I could see, like he really didn't exude like the type of energy that made me feel like he had remorse or he cared. Maybe shock hasn't hit him yet. You know what I mean? But one thing that I did see, we're going to talk about the follow-up that happened after his verdict. So after his verdict, we have the federal bureau. Wait, no, I forgot. I didn't even put down who it was. So now we have, the Minneapolis police it's just been publicized that they're going to be actually under investigation. The entire police department is going to be under investigation. Now, this is very crucial that they said that. Why? Because they're going to go back and look at every single police officer, look at complaints they have against them. They're going to look at complaints against the precinct. They're going to look at how the precinct has responded. They're going to look at policy. They're going to look at their rules of engagement. They're going to every rock is going to get picked the fuck up and looked under in this precinct. And this kind of piggybacks on the last episode that we had where we talked about this is why it's important for you to go out and actually file reports against the police. Because when you think about it, like if you have a police department that is out here and they have a record for fucking harassing people, beating people the fuck up, if it's not documented when situations like this happen, when we do have a push for someone that said we're going to investigate this fucking police department, there's nothing that's recorded. And then so even though they're a fucked up police department, it's like, well, they're not fucked up because on Black and White, like we don't see any issues with the police department.
I have to fight you on that.
There's nothing to fight about.
Well, no. The reason I'm fighting on it is because
except pride and ego.
This is one thing that happened. Like this is a major case that happened. And the only reason that it's being looked at because this major case happened and it was publicized. I still live up under the belief that if we were not quarantined, if we were not in the house with this being on the news, we would have never been. It would have never been an outcry like it was.
I hope you don't believe that.
Want to know why? Want to know why? I want to know why I say that.
I'm waiting.
You have several people that was killed before this. Now we was quarantined. Everybody was quarantined. Everybody's in the house watching the news. This is the exact same shit that happens every month, every year. What's the difference between George Floyd being killed and every other person of our community being killed? What is the difference?
Number one, it wasn't even an arrestable offense. Number one.
Neither was Eric Garner.
I mean, you're gonna let me finish? You're gonna keep cutting me off when I'm trying to respond.
I'm giving you point by point. We're going point by point. Go.
No. You asked me a question. So if you want me to respond, I'll respond.
Go.
Number one, it wasn't an arrestable offense. Number one. Number two, he was pleading for being claustrophobic. That's why he didn't want to get in the car. Now, that alone is not grounds for us to stand on and say, oh, this is why it happened. No, but they drug him out of the car. They put him on the ground. They used a technique that has been banned that they shouldn't be using. Put him chest down, then put a knee on his neck. All of this shit was recorded on camera. The difference is The difference is this police officer that had his knee on this man's neck, he stayed on his neck until after he died and still refused to get up. It is an accumulation of all the issues that have happened leading up to this situation. It is not one isolated incident. It is a direct correlation and compounding element of all the different issues that have happened leading up to this moment.
Eric Garner is the same exact case. The only difference was there's no cop car involved.
So
That's
tell
the
me,
only
okay,
difference
so go through what happened with Eric Garner? So
Eric Garner,
knows.
Eric Garner, the guy who was in New York, the man who was in New York, who was falsely accused of selling Lucy's. Lucy's are one cigarette at a time. That's what a Lucy is. He was falsely accused of selling Lucy's. He was put in a chokehold, an illegal chokehold by somebody who has multiple, fouls against him. It's the same exact thing. The only difference was the whole world saw George Floyd. That's the only difference, and that's all I'm saying. Yeah, he was selling Lucy's. Eric Garner was falsely accused of selling Lucy's. The cop put him in a chokehold, in an illegal chokehold. The only difference is there was no cop car. That's the only difference. Same amount of cops, 4 cops, one put him in a chokehold, and he died. The only difference is the world was shut down, and the only thing we had to do was watch social media, and we had to watch news.
I mean, I feel where you're going with it. The significant difference is the grand jury chose not to indict.
Okay.
So the bigger issue is not the fact that even there were prosecutors that were divided because the grand jury didn't want to indict, even on the prosecutor side, the civil rights prosecutors. So my whole thing is it's an issue that is with one individual, one core area, right? So I agree with you. We're gonna have situations where, is it racism? Possibly. I feel like it is. You see what I'm saying? When you have a man that was actually in New York standing outside accused of selling Lucy's, and he's telling them, I ain't selling Lucy's, I ain't selling cigarettes, and they fucking jumped on him. The issue with the grand jury, I forgot the guy's name. He said that the reason why he didn't want to indict was because he felt like that he doesn't feel like Daniel, the police officer that ironically choked his ass out. He said he didn't feel like he intentionally intended to use the chokehold to actually kill,
But it's an illegal move.
It's still an illegal move. I agree. He shouldn't have been using the chokehold. But everybody knows that ever been to New York. New York cops is like the motherfucking Wild Wild West.
I don't know why people still live out there. I don't know why our community still decides to live and stay out there.
Like if you don't know, up in New York, if they see 2 people fighting, nobody's getting arrested. Like, it's like the Wild Wild West when it comes to cops in New York, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, like you said, I don't know why people still living up there. I mean, we can't debate that.
Taxes high shit.
That's a whole nother conversation for another video.
Yeah.
But the reason why here's my stance again, right? My perspective that you said you have to challenge is the fact that these people should still have complaints filed against them. Now, what I'm saying is, regardless if we're afraid of them getting off or not, we're not helping the situation by not reporting them and doing due process to make sure that they're held accountable. So what I'm saying is, I don't know, Mr. Daniel, how many complaints he has. Now, the grand jury, it would be hard for the grand jury to come back and say, oh, he didn't intentionally do it to kill the man, or we don't, because at the end of the day, how many complaints did he have? If he had 20 complaints against him for using excessive force, maybe he would have got indicted by a grand jury.
This is where I fight you on that, because like even with this case, the judge did not allow for the previous fouls to be brought up in court. That's why I disagree with you. No matter how many fouls he has against him, if the judge did not allow,
but there was not a complaint filed. This is my point. It was not a complaint. It was an incident. Oh, this is what happened when we went to this call. Okay, but how does it apply to this case? Is there a complaint? This is what I'm saying. The mother never made a complaint.
Whether it's a complaint or whether it's just a case, if the judge, and I'm not talking about this, I'm talking about all cases, if the judge does not allow it to be in, it's not being brought in.
Brother, you are not going to see many judges that are going to ignore complaints filed against a police officer. And I don't want to drop any names, but I know an individual who I know very well who was a member, I don't even want to say what branch he was in, but That's what came back to bite him in the ass, because he had like 10 complaints that was filed against him, and then he ended up going to jail. You see what I'm saying? But it's plenty of incidents that we hear like that we just we're not in the know about. So I'm only telling you because I know for a fact, as I have.
But see, that's what comes down when it comes to the prosecution trying to make a case in front of the grand jury, because everybody works together. And if you're trying to keep a good relationship with the cops, then a lot of our cases that we're trying to get convictions of, it's not really going to work, because everybody's trying to work together. Everybody's trying to keep a good name within the governmental system, within the city.
Yeah, so pretty much that's all we pretty much have on that topic. I mean, we could talk about this for days, the issues, within our judicial system, the issues within, us as civilians, and not properly following up with our due diligence to make sure that these cops are held accountable. When I say held accountable, I don't mean we're going to go report them and then they're going to get fired right away. What I mean is, like you said before in the past episode, they're public servants. They work for us, right? They work for the taxpayers. So, but again, we do have the Supreme Court that ruled that it is not the police's responsibility to protect you. They're a private organization. Well, they're their own separate entity away from technically serving us, right? So we even see in the judicial system now, in our system, they're trying to make it seem like that the police officers have no leniency or have no alliance or, with us, the people, right? Because even when you look back at when the police force was first put together, a lot of people don't know the police were put together back in the day during slave times to go hunt down slaves and to bring them back. Even when you had the Seminole Indians that partnered with a lot of Native Americans and they fled into Texas, the police were called to go into Texas to try to retrieve them, which back then was illegal, because once they traversed over into Texas, they were technically free because Texas was a free state. And so when you had slaves fleeing into Texas, you would have plantation owners would send the police to go get their slaves. Sometimes they would make it in, get their slaves and come back. And sometimes Texas ran them the fuck up out of there. Like, no, motherfucker, you ain't coming in here taking nobody because they free. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at the dark history of the police and what they symbolize, there's no surprise that when you look at today what's going on between, black, quote unquote, black Americans and the police force. So with that being said, all I'm simply saying is when I say hold them accountable, I mean that if you're not filing reports, if you're not going down there and reporting them, there's nothing documented on paper. And if there's nothing documented on paper, the police will do their very best to cover the shit up and sweep it up under the fucking rug. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that collectively, us together as a people, we have power to usher in change if we stand up together and we start holding these people accountable. So yes, I do agree with RTJ when he talks about Eric Garner being choked out and killed. The unfortunate thing though is this. It's almost like Eric Garner's death is what led us to this point. And that's pretty much the stance that I'm taking. Every single black person that has been killed by the police, even the man that was dealing with the kid that had the mental disability, and he laid on the ground and put his hands up and the cop still fucking shot him. And he looked at the cop and said, "Why the fuck did you shoot me?" And the cop said, "I don't know." You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So, and I personally believe like every single black person who has been shot, killed, maimed, beat unconscious has led us to this moment right now with George Floyd. So I feel like every single death has played its part in where we are today, right? And I feel like now, after George Floyd, we're going to start seeing change. When we look in, the recent incident like we just talked about in the past episode where police mace a fucking second Army lieutenant, fucking turns around and gets fired.
Yeah.
Because they're like, dude, we don't need this kind of fucking heat. You see what's going on with the George Floyd case?
And actually, if you watch the George Floyd case, you would see how every cop that was put on stand said, hey, you know what? He was acting on his own.
Exactly.
He was doing that shit by himself. We don't know what the fuck he was doing. So I kind of agree with you, and I think there is a change coming, but do I really see a change in my lifetime? A significant change in my lifetime? I don't think so.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say. Like you see it in your lifetime, you're seeing it right now. You know what I'm saying? I think in my opinion, in order for me to make a distinction to say if it's gonna be in my lifetime, it depends on what the fucking Senate does. Biden is talking about, we want to push a new bill for black folks for police reform. if the Senate pushes it across the floor in the next 4 years, which shouldn't be that fucking hard considering y'all just pushed forward a fucking Asian hate crime bill in a matter of a couple of months, if that, tops. So if y'all can push an Asian hate bill across the floor because there was a handful of incidents of people getting shot at nail salons where white people were killed too, let's not forget that. But if you can push a bill over the Senate floor, over the chamber for that, I'm pretty sure you could expedite a bill for a man that was literally murdered in front of young children on the street. Wouldn't that make sense to you? I think
they expedited a lot more too.
It makes sense to me. So we'll see what the Senate chooses to do. We're happy. We got a. This is a big win, for the black community. In the name of George Floyd, it's a real huge win for us. I didn't watch most of the trial because I was like, I can't deal with the up and down like we did with Trayvon Martin, where we know, this person's going to jail for real, and then over the radio we hear acquitted. Like, what? y'all got to be playing. So end of the day, thank you guys for tuning in with us. We know this episode has been kind of long.
Yeah.
A very passionate topic. And unfortunately, you guys also missed a really, really great heated exchange from RTJ, because y'all know how he get, Mr. Angry, Loud, Crazy Man. But the card filled up because I forgot to dump it. So that's on me. So
he admitted it. He admitted it.
I always admit my fuck ups. Give me one incident where we ain't got
controversy out. We're gonna keep it. Controversy out.